certificate. I would again recommend acceptance of all these recommendations.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Consideration of applications. There are 365 renewal applications.
And I incorporate by reference that list of 365 applications for renewal. Those have been recommended by local boards and reviewed by said staff with authority of the commission. I hereby move for approval of the same pending any needed escrow hearings and further move for inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of today's meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 31 new and transfer applications.
I incorporate by reference this list of 31 permit applications for a new permit or application for changes in ownership or location or both of existing permits. Those have been recommended by local boards and reviewed by a commissioner. I hereby move for approval of the same pending a final floor plan approval by the state excise police and an escrow hearing if needed. Further move for inclusion in this list as part of today's minutes.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. There are 49 catering applications.
I incorporate by reference this list as well with the 49 permit applications for catering. Hereby move for approval of the same and inclusion of this list as part of today's meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. There are 39 direct wine shipper applications.
And I incorporate by reference this list of 39 new and renewal direct wine shippers permits. Hereby move for approval of the same and inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of today's meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Waivers of fees for letters of extension.
I move that we approve the waivers of fees for letters of extension since the last commission meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next is items for discussion. The first one is RR 50021770 Mayflower Incorporated. This matter comes on for a remand request following denial at the local board. I'll open that for discussion.
Yes, this comes to us from Marshall County. This owner of this entity disclosed some criminal background, but not all criminal background had been disclosed. And then discussion was ensuing at the local board, and he chose not to participate in that. Glad to report that since he's been denied by local board or recommended for denial by local board and denied by us, that he has now hired counsel. Counsel has sent us a remand request. Counsel indicates that he'll be involved with the local board. They will be involved with the local board. So it can be vetted and reviewed by the local board and see what recommendation they want to give it for renewal of this permit. And I'm going to move that we uphold the request for the remand to the local board for the hearing on the renewal for RR 50021770 Mayflower Inc.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 4186068 Carter Ice House Incorporated 2. This is a request for a conversion from a 209 to a 210 following annexation.
Yes, this comes to us from Johnson County. It's down in Greenwood. That area was annexed in 1988, and the business did exist at least 2 years before that. It meets the condition of the statute to be able to convert from the 209 to the 210, and I move that we allow the conversion for RR 4186068 Carter Ice House Inc. 2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, or is there any further discussion?
None.
Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next is DL 4933961 Central Indiana Package Group I-1 LLC. This was continued from the June 17th meeting. There was a tax clearance on this matter that we wanted to review before taking further action. The permit that is being transferred had a tax clearance in late 24 sometime, and it was an import from DOR and did come over from DOR. So the tax clearance at this point, if everything provided to DOR was truthful and honest up to that point, does seem to be in order. So for consideration today is the transfer to DL 4933961 Central Indiana Package Group I-1 LLC. I will open that for discussion.
Yes, that's here in Indianapolis. I will note that for the purchasers, there is some needed information that was requested back in January 13th of this year, and that is the purchase price. And there is an address that is not correct. Those items do need to be given to us before the permit is approved. Since there is a tax clearance from DOR at this point in time, I'm going to move that we grant the transfer of this permit for DL 4933961 Central Indiana Package Group I-1 LLC.
Is there a second? I would just note, this is the same owner that was denied at the last meeting for character. This one doesn't have the same forgeries associated with this, but local board didn't have any information on that when they approved the transfer.
I would move to remand the matter back to local board so they can review this in its entirety.
I could agree to a remand, so I will second the motion for remand. So the current motion, I guess I'll note that the initial motion to approve died for lack of a second. The current motion and second are to remand. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next permit is RR 9235660 JK Tater RHL LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request. Oh, I think actually we don't need an extension request on that one. The only matter holding that up is a hold that has been cleared.
Correct.
So we can move on to RR 450510574 Peter Cyril Metz. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this is in Griffith, Indiana. It did expire on March the 30th, 25. We were awaiting some documentation on insurance and F1. Those items have now been received, and this matter has been set for a local board for renewal. There are no violations within the past 8 years. The first extension expires July the 7th of this year, and I move that we grant a 90-day extension for RR 4510574 Peter Cyril Metz.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 4938051 OHSR Enterprise LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request following denial of the permit.
Yes, this permit has had 2 violations. Both have been settled. It did include a fight that was inside the bar that went outside. It was quite a large one. There have been police runs, a number of them, to this facility. There was a remonstrator at the local board. The entity feels like a lot of the runs to the business dealt with a taco truck that was open later hours in the parking lot that was not tied to them. They were cited for minimum food, signage, employee permits, as alcohol establishment operated by retail permittee and cessation of qualifications. There was also a violation having to do with the manager questionnaire, public nuisance, sales to intox. They have submitted a corrective action plan and an updated corrective action plan. Part of the corrective action plan, they've changed security firms. They are continuing to use off-duty enforcement officers. All staff is going to be or have been recertified under the Safe Serve program. There's no in and out allowed. They have no in and out policy. And they are going to slightly close earlier. It really only results in like a half an hour earlier closing, which they may want to reconsider that and close earlier than that. And they are no longer going to have strict specials. And I will note that they are going to wand and search people who are coming in. I like the corrective action plan. I wish they would close a little earlier. I think that would help with some of their violations, some of their problems rather, at the business. But with that, I'm going to move that we allow an extension. But I am going to note that I want strict compliance to Indiana laws and regs and to the cap that they have submitted. And I make that motion for a 90-day extension for RR 4938-051 OHSR Enterprises LLC.
I will second that, given the caveats, the strict adherence.
Yeah, I would just note that this is going to be based on strict compliance, the ability to maintain this as an extension. If there are further violations, further major incidents, I think I'll be open to reconsideration on the extension.
Me as well.
And I will note that approving this today has no bearing on how I would vote on the appeal.
Agreed.
Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, next item for discussion is RR 4927664 El Chispas number 2 LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request.
This is also here in Indianapolis. We did deny the renewal in March of this year. There has been an appeal filed. They have submitted a corrective action plan. They are represented by counsel. Counsel has recently notified us that they would like to enter into a management agreement with a company. And they're working on that, and then that company may also end up purchasing this program, this business. I think we have some questions about that company, just who they are, what their knowledge is of 7.1, how they would operate. So I'm going to recommend that well, I will note that this business has had one full 90-day extension issued under 2 tranches from April the 8th through July the 7th. Our next meeting is July the 15th. I'm going to move that we grant an extension until July the 15th and that legal get in touch with them with some questions that we would like answered before the next meeting regarding who the management company might be, who they are proposing, and just more information about them and how they would operate, their familiarity with 7.1 law and our regulations. So moved for RR 49 27664 Elch's Bus Number 2 LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I would note, I have some similar questions. All we have right now is a company name that the permittee wants to put on managing a denied permit. And then eventually transfer to, we have their company name. I looked them up on Secretary of State. You can see an incorporator and a registered agent, but I couldn't find anything. Maybe that person's the owner, maybe they're not, but I couldn't find any employee permits, any past experience. So I think I have some of those questions. Nightclub is in the name of the corporation, so it seems like it's a push to move ahead with the same business model. So what are they doing? How are they gonna operate? How do they, there's a corrective action plan, but that applies to the owner. What happens with the manager on that? What are their security practices, training, employee manuals, written policies, de-escalation procedures? Some of these issues that we have at nightclubs, how are they prepared to move forward with that? So I agree with the 2 weeks so that we can get some more information. If part of this request is this manager's questionnaire, which is unusual on a denied permit for a new purchaser that hasn't been vetted yet.
I agree.
Any further discussion?
Not for me.
Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Inactive files, there are 13 permits to be made inactive from the June 17th, 2025 meeting.
I incorporate by reference these lists of permit applications announced June the 17th, 2025 to be made dead today, July 1st, 2025, and hereby move for approval of the same and the inclusion of these lists as part of the minutes of the July 1st, 2025 meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
We have another matter on a request for an extension. Bearvine Corporation, unless I misadded something to my agenda. RR 481431A,
Just request line.
Friday, late Friday.
Thank you. I will call that for
Yeah.
discussion.
Let me look at my notes. There apparently is a pending violation. Counsel for Bearvine appeared late Friday, requesting an extension. He was advised by staff at that time that an extension in this situation couldn't be granted without a vote by the commission. There is a copy of a renewal having been filed. The extension request is at the front of that. Permit expired as of June 19th, 2025. Pending violation is the first for this permit since 2012. This one occurred on February 22nd, 25. The violations alleged are alcoholic beverage Sunday alcohol sale violations, manager questionnaire violation, minimum menu requirements, and time for consumption of alcohol beverages after retail closing hours. I would move to grant the extension for 90 days.
Hold on one second. I looked at this before and I'm just familiarizing myself with it.
It looks like they had a settlement conference on April 14th. Prosecutor is here in the room today. Are you familiar with this at all?
Yes, they did fail to appear for their settlement conference. Attorney for the business contacted me about 2 months after that. We've been in discussion since June.
Okay, so they are now engaged, which is good.
And I would just note that I do have the appeal of a denial in a matter where one of the owners of which permit is involved, but that has no bearing on the motion to extend this permit.
I second that motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Kim, for keeping that on our radar.
You're welcome.
On inactive files, there are 7 permits to be made inactive on July 15th, 2025. So if one of those is yours or your clients, get renewals taken care of on those. Announcements, there are a couple of meetings later this year that are moved because of holidays. Now, not seeing any other items on the agenda unless somebody stops me, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, there's this motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries.